Greetings there, my fellow Arrakis smugglers. Rhadamant here. Thank you for tuning in to Dune Spice Wars, Episode 2, Expanding Demesne. So this village here is guarded by 3, and its benefit is merchants. So they do produce Solari. That's a pretty good village to control. Extra plascrete from pillaging is pretty good early on. Is it useful later on? It depends on how you're managing your resources, but generally not, no. Okay, first agent. I'm going to ignore the tutorial here, because I know better than the game. So here's my agent. They're charismatic. That's their trait. So their influence, they increase global production by 2% per the infiltration level. So let me explain what you're looking at here. We have the 3 enemy houses, which I can infiltrate. We have Arrakis infiltration, which is sort of like infiltrating the natives of the planet. The Spacing Guild, which infiltrating them increases your manpower, intel, and it also unlocks missions over here that are driven from Spacing Guild, like Supply Drop, which is really important. You've got Chom, which is the people that you sell your spice to, and infiltrating there, increases Solari production, intel, and then Landsraad, which is the sort of governance, and infiltrating there is influence, intel. I cannot imagine a scenario where your first agent isn't going to go to Arrakis infiltration. And the reason is, all of those scouting elements that I said earlier, the things that are kind of like Stellaris anomalies, you cannot analyze them unless you have an Arrakis spy. So it's just necessary. There's no other option in my mind. And then putting that spy there allows me to go over to, like, let's say this crash shuttle and go boom, use Arrakis infiltration and agents, and in 4 minutes I will have a random accessible development and military development shaved off by 4 days. So if we take a look over here, survival training takes 6 days. It will only take 2 when this anomaly is analyzed. Pretty strong. And then taking a look on the right, now that I have my first agent, I am going to be building up intel. There are a lot of intel that you can gain just from these scouting elements, like crashed recon units that you can analyze for intel. And then you can use this intel to run missions. Initially, you're basically only going to be able to do probe setups, which allow you to scout an entire region automatically. But eventually, you can go all the way to assassinating the enemy leaders, which is actually what I'm going to aim to do in this series. Assassinate off, House Atreides, House Harkonnen, and the Fremen. A lot of these missions require a certain level of infiltration. So if you take a look at, like, poisoning the reserves increases the supply drain and prevents enemy armies from health regeneration, but it requires that the Arrakis infiltration be level 1 and that you have 100 intel. So putting a spy in Arrakis infiltration, slowly what you will see is this progress bar go all the way up to level 1, allowing me to unlock poison the reserves. You can sabotage gear, you can supply drop for yourself, this is specific to the smugglers, but you have underworld cells, which allows you to annex territory more inexpensively, temporarily, but more inexpensively, which is a really powerful one. For that, for instance, I need Chom infiltration level 2 to unlock it, and then also, of course, 200 intel. Force a 2-day ceasefire, sabotage an enemy base, manipulate a crowd for them to start a rebellion in a region, literally nuke atomics. Of course, it absolutely reduces your Landsraad standing, so it's really terrible to do if you want some sort of political voice. Chom shares, which is just basically pay Chom to increase your hegemony. Infiltrations, and then infiltration cells of assassinating enemy leaders. If you have any other questions about espionage, just let me know. But I will show you as we go. So my authority here is sort of ticking up, and as you can see, agents are now giving me +1 authority. So given that I have 32 authority, I should start thinking about what I'm going to annex next, and I do think it's going to be Esha over here.
What do you want? Ammo here, sir.
My scavengers are relatively low on health, so I want to keep an eye on them. And then over here at Arcta, I did just build my plascrete factory, and as you can see, it is making 45 plascrete, which is great. And then I am going to save up for a research hub. So research hubs in Arcta, because of its region's specialty as scientists, are going to make more science, more bang for my buck, which would be great. That allows me to gain more knowledge and unlock more research more quickly.
Yes, boss.
Alright, now my options are to take control, and obviously I don't have the resources for that, or to pillage it. And that will give me 39 plascrete and 411 solari. And it also damages the village for a while. Here, let me reread that. So that it cannot produce loot, and it renders the village unusable for a month. Now, what I'm predicting is that I don't actually use this village for a month, so I don't really care that it becomes unusable. I'd rather have the resources now than the possibility to use it in the next 29 days. And cheers. I know it's a lot. Okay, there we go. I have pillaged it, and now it has a devastated. The village cannot be targeted by an attack, cannot construct new buildings, the local production is reduced, and the authority to annex a new village has gone up by 5%. Puppy treats, sure thing. Hey, buddy. Alright, let's walk out of there before my supplies drop. Get back into my own territory and heal up. Oh, so here's a abandoned Fremen camp. I can either analyze this with my Arrakis agent, or I can turn it into materials with my recon unit. And because I really need plascrete early on, I'm going to turn it into materials. Now, if I chose the other option, which is to study it, it allows me to find neutral sieges, which are sort of bases of they're not Fremen, which is weird. Well, they are Fremen and they're not Fremen. They're basically just neutrals, like this guy, who's actually about to attack me. That they can provide you benefits and then can also send raids. So this unit here is a raider from a hidden siege, and they're coming to attack Harasek. So my troops here, I'm going to reroute to Harasek to defend it. It also means that there is some sort of hidden siege out this way. And now, raid detected. I saw it before it arrived. One thing to note is that this raider has 0 supplies. So as you can see, they're almost already dead. They're 3/4 dead. Because they had to cross this region with no supplies. So, yeah, they've been... they depleted themselves. They played themselves, in other words. I don't really have to worry about that. Alright, over here, the next building I want to build here is... I'm actually going to build a wind trap to increase my water, because I need at least 5 water to annex new territory. And then I will pay the 100 plascrete to unlock building slot number 3.
I'm all ears.
I don't even... Oh, no, this raider's starting to regain their supplies now. But he almost died.
Yeah.
Alright, what is my recon? Okay. When you're done there, I want you to go here. I want to see what's adjacent to me. I guess I could walk out that way. So, I might reschedule them to analyze this region instead. Is this game like StarCraft? Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
boss.
It's less of a 4X and more of an RTS. So yeah, it's a bit like StarCraft. So what's going to happen here is they're attacking me, and they're trying to liberate the village. So if I don't contest them, they will turn Harasek back to a neutral village, and I will not control it. But as you can see, the progress bar is really slow, so I have plenty of time to get there and kill them. It's unfortunate that I don't yet control this zone, which gives me scavenger network. I would gain actual money killing them. And then up here, I also have the little reminder that I just finished a point of interest investigation, which is giving me plascrete. Alright, and then you, my little man, go out and scout that. Or actually, yeah, go out and scout that. So now my plastic rate just jumped up as a result, which is really nice. That allows me to build more stuff. Right, combat ongoing, and this will be resolved in like seconds because this guy is nearly dead. And he's dead.
Okay.
And now, as you can see, the liberation of that village is no longer a threat to me.
Yeah.
You, Mr. Wrecker, I'm going to have you walk to the adjacent tiles. So I'm going to queue them up with shift so that I know how they're walking to try to stay in my own territory as long as possible. Because if I leave my territory, my supply starts to drop. I'm getting kind of close to underworld contracts, so once I get there, I really ought to be in a position to annex Esha.
Okay.
So actually, instead of
Go then.
Instead of scouting with my military units, I'm going to position them for Esha annexation. Because Esha will be able to give me a Solari rare elements production facility, and that will help my economy a lot. I'm also going to start to stockpile more spice instead of selling it to Chom.
You call me.
So defending Esha is 1 range, 1 militia. And Arcta's wind traps just got built. So now my water is up to 13. And I'm going to build a research hub. And then I'm going to spend the plascrete to... Maybe not yet. I was thinking about spending the plascrete. Alright, so here is the tutorial reminding me that every 25 days I will have to pay the Imperial bribe. The Imperial bribe increases every time you pay it. So it ramps up slowly, but it ramps up so that it expects you to be able to supply more and more spice over time. I've never had it so that I couldn't pay the spice tax, but it does get really expensive later in the game. But generally speaking, at that point, you have technology and more territories to be able to do more spice. So one of the big things that I should do is try to have my recon unit find another spice field. That would be a really powerful tool. There's also something that I hadn't covered yet, and I really ought to because it's very important, which is adjacency bonuses. So here in Harasek, I'm going to add another building slot, and the building I'm going to build here is a maintenance center. What this maintenance center does is it reduces the upkeep of Solarian plascrete in all of the buildings in this region and all the adjacent buildings. So it will affect Harasek, Arcta, Esha, and whatever this region is, and whatever, Yeh-al-Ni. There is a lot of buildings that will have those kind of adjacency bonuses to increase production, increase spice, increase the power of military units, so on and so forth. Plan your constructions well as a result. That's what I'm going to say. Because a well-maintained network of villages using as much of the adjacency bonuses will reduce your costs and allow you more military might. So building a maintenance center here will benefit all of my 3 villages that I have right now, which is why it's so powerful. It doesn't, of course, hit Burha, and it doesn't hit Cod over here. But if you'll take a look, there are regions that I've yet explored over here. So like, let's say I annexed this region and add a maintenance center there, then it would benefit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 potentially, right? So be thinking when you're developing your villages in that way. Because if you don't, you're going to be spending a lot more Solari and plascrete than you probably need to. So this here is a Way of the Desert extra experience, which is pretty lame. I don't really like those region bonuses. But maybe there's good resources here. Maybe it's a spice field or something.
Yeah? What? This stuff is expensive, you know.
I'm telling my scavenger to go first.
Hello.
Even though they have the same amount of health, the scavenger has a little bit more armor. And then I'm also going to tell them to go after the sniper first. So this ranged militia here is less effective in melee combat, so I can reduce the amount of damage that I take by sending my scavenger over to kill the ranged unit, forcing them into melee combat, and then kill the militia later. In most fights, in a lot of fights, one side is stacked, and you don't really need to worry about micromanaging your troops. But I do find that I tend to micromanage my troops a lot, where, like, the lowest health of my troops I will pull out. The lowest health of the enemy troops I will focus with my ranged units. Sort of what you would expect in, you know, any other RTS game. So here, you'll see my scavengers completely bypassing the melee militia to then force a pin down to reduce the military power of this sniper unit by 50%, which is going to make it just a lot easier to wipe this village out and annex it.
You call me.
Also, if we take a look over here, I am probably... I'm not really sure what I'm going to build next. Maybe I'll poll you. Maybe local hubs. I don't know, I'm not sure. And there we go. Alright, point of interest, investigated. So, here is the crash that's going to give me military development. Resolve that. And then if we take a look up here, the survival training here has a huge amount of progress bar. It might not be unwise to just get that next, but how about I will pull you. What research to queue up? Spying, social, economy, or military. And it's not the normal polls where you just type a number, it's a Twitch poll, because the normal polls where you type a number is broken.
Yes?
Man, so many black markets everywhere.
Engine's hot.
And there we go. Esha annexed.
You asked for chemical experts.
As soon as this wrecker has a little bit more supplies, I'm going to have them scout the adjacent tiles as well, on foot. Here we have the research hub, which is now producing 1.3 knowledge. So my knowledge increased has gone up, which is great. And it rounds, or it doesn't round, so like I'm actually getting 1.3. And then really soon here that the maintenance center will be built. So if we take a look at the maintenance here, the upkeep of this plascrete factory is only 2 plascrete, which is very little. But the upkeep of the wind trap is 4 and 4. The upkeep of the research is 8 and 6. So a 30% reduction in maintenance costs for the Solari and plascrete here is pretty big when you add up all the buildings in this region, all the buildings in this region. Like this refinery has a 14 plascrete upkeep. And then, of course, all the buildings in this region that I'm about to add. So maintenance centers might not sound sexy, but oh my god, are they useful.
What's next?
Another thing I could do is get another recon vessel. Alright, there we go. So there's the maintenance center. So then if we take a look at the refinery, it's now 10 plascrete instead of 14. So you can see that my my total upkeep here has dramatically gone down.
What do you need?
And here's Esha. I don't quite have the underworld contracts researched fully, which would allow me to exploit the rare elements over here. So instead, I'm going to build a wind trap to get my water up. And then the next building I will build will be the factory. Ooh, so this is the Observatory Mountain. So this is a special region. Annexing this region gives me 500 hegemony, and this region produces a lot more plascrete. It's a special area.
You got it, Chief. There's no rush, right? Roger.
And more minerals. What I'm really looking for at this point is probably a second spice field. Oh, and development research. So taking a look, military did win, so we'll queue up the survival training. Let me re-poll on that. Are there any medical units? There are. Yes, there are some medical units. All right, here's the next poll.
What's next?
Oh, and here's another special region, Acid Lakes. So Acid Lakes actually hurts you, but it allows research hubs made in this region to produce more science. And a trade request. So here is the example that I had where a trade requests are really stupid. They are offering 16 intel and 157 Solari for 213 plascrete and 47 influence. Oh lord, is this dumb. No, I'm not going to accept. And here we go, Imperial bribe paid. So I paid the 80 spice for the bribe. The next bribe is going to be 212 spice. And as a result, I get Master Briber. I get +1 influence, and this will stack. So if you always pay your bribes, it will start to stack up. And if you miss one, you lose the bonus and start to incur penalties. If you think it might be worth you never paying the bribe and just incurring the penalties and using all of the extra Solari to build up a big military, or you can pay the bribe, it's really up to you and your playstyle. I generally find myself paying the bribe so that in the Landsraad Council, I can have a little bit of a say, even though the smugglers are really weak in the Landsraad Council. That's one of their weaknesses, the limited access to the council. Because they're smugglers. And the Fremen also have limited access to the council. The council is mostly controlled by Harkonnen and Atreides, and not by smugglers or Fremen. And that noise right there, that like clicking noise, is bribe paid.
Engine's hot.
Alright, so this region is a plateau. What's really interesting so far is I haven't actually hit any deep deserts, which is really strange, honestly. I would have totally expected to hit a deep desert by now. But my guess is maybe this region... No, this region is not going to be deep desert. It's going to be a red plateau, I think. So I don't really know where the deep deserts are, which is odd. But
Yeah.
I'm sure they're out there. So, another agent. This agent increases plascrete global production by 1% per infiltration level. So if I put this agent in Arrakis infiltration, I'm about to get Arrakis infiltration level to level 1, which then increases my plascrete production by 1%. Alternatively, I could put them in Spacing Guild or Chome or Landsraad. Counterintelligence to try to catch other agents trying to do hostile operations and missions in my region, or to start to infiltrate other houses. I generally don't find it all that useful early game to bother infiltrating other houses. It does produce a lot of intel, which can be useful, but it doesn't actually produce resources like manpower or the science that you can get from anomalies. I'm just going to call them anomalies, or anything like that. So for this agent here, I'm probably going to have them in Arrakis to analyze the scouting anomalies more quickly, and also to give me authority, because Arrakis infiltration grants authority, which is the currency to be able to annex territory. So I generally will dump a lot into Arrakis, unless there's a reason not to.
Hello.
Alright, I should start planning my next annexation. It's probably going to be down here for the scavenger network, Cod al Ne. But it would be really good to see the adjacent tiles, what's down there, how close I am to enemies, etc. Alright, so here's a new council. 3 resolutions are put up to vote every council. Each faction can use votes or influence, or both. Well, not both, but votes and influence, or just votes alone, or just influence in some cases. I'll explain that in a second. To pass or counter resolutions, and then there are special resolutions which are charters up here. So let me explain this better than the tutorial does. What this here is it's warning me what's going to be up to vote soon. So, one faction will suffer a 30% reduction in their military units' power. One faction will, or actually, so this is for a specific faction. This is a something that will, if voted upon, will increase the water upkeep for everyone everywhere. And then this here allows the faction that is elected to increase more authority. Over here is the amount of votes that I have. So right now I have 0 votes because my Landsraad rating is really low and I have limited access to it. Atreides gets 100 votes, Harkonnen gets 80, and Fremen gets 0. And then the minor houses can also vote. And these minor houses here have 400 votes. And basically what's going to end up happening is once the council opens up for voting in 6 days, everyone can then secretly cast their votes. And likely what I found is that most of the AI votes for the player. So likely what will happen to me is I'm going to get gear regulations levied against me, where I will suffer military penalties, and then one of the AI is likely to get the authority production. And I'm guessing that water regulation won't pass because that's kind of rough on everyone. I can try to use the influence that I have, 95 of it, to vote for someone else, or in the case of water regulation, to say no. And then, because I'm the smugglers, I can also put a bounty ahead of time. So what a bounty is I will pay Solari to whoever votes for whom I want. So if I take a look here at the hegemony, I'm at 1K and Atreides is at 900. So what I could do is say, hey, anyone that votes for gear regulations against Atreides will, I will pay them to vote for that way. I think because I don't really care about gear regulations, I care about authority, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a bounty on myself. If you vote for me for Imperial propaganda, I will pay you Solari. It's a pretty good deal because I have a lot of Solari, I don't have a lot of authority, so I will pay people to vote my way. So I'm going to attempt to get Imperial propaganda acted upon me when the council is open for voting, which, as you can see, is not for another 6 days. So this is just a heads up of what's coming, and then there's a period where you can vote and use your influence and votes, and then there's the results that will happen afterwards.
Yeah? What?
Okay, construction is complete for the wind trap, and now for the processing plant. What was the result of last poll? Can I build another scouting helicopter? I am 93% of the way to build one already. So it's popping out in just a second here.
What do you need? As long as we're paid. You got...
Yep, this is the Red Chasm. I knew it because I could tell from the edge of the mountain here.
US.
This is a region that is fully protected from the landworms. As you can see, it's just about 100% rocky, which means that I can build anywhere in this region, and
The chemical expert.
and you'll never have sandworm attacks up there.
Okay.
Have I found the map edge? I have. So the map edge is here around this Acid Lakes region. And then I'm going to send this chopper to start analyzing the anomalies because I don't have my Arrakis agents doing any anomalies right now.
Let's go then.
Next research. I have no idea. Does Twitch show me the results of the last poll? I don't even know, but I'm going to get Intelligence Network. Oh, Eco? Okay. For economy. I guess energy markets. So what this does is it allows me to make more fuel cells to power up my scouts, my refineries, and my airfields eventually. And any excess fuel that I am not using turns into Solari, which is a good way to make extra money.
Yes? What's next? Ready to go.
Alright, this unit is suffering from really bad low
There's no...
supply. And then this chopper is done. So Fontar here is guarded by 4 militia. And I will have you
Rush, right?
start to head south.
You asked for chemical experts.
All right. The next region I think I'm going to add is this one down here. And I almost have enough authority to get there and to get it already. Oh, and here's the sandworm. So when sandworms are detected, they will swallow your harvester and destroy it, and also kill the crew unless you recall. Now, I recalled immediately. Like, I paused within a second, but even then, harvesters might die, which is why I never really enabled the auto recall. So you can see that the sand starts to get all liquid, and this can also happen to troops too. So it's really important for your troops to try to idle on stone here, because if I marched around in a circle like this on the soft sand, I could be eaten. So when my harvester, and I guess this one did get extracted, when my harvester gets extracted, it avoids the event of being swallowed by a sandworm, and then I'll have to redeploy it in a second.
Need something, Chief?
It's a little bit of extra micromanagement, but it's worth it, because otherwise the tax of the auto recall, which doesn't always work. I would think about using auto recall if it worked every time, but it doesn't, so I don't use it. And then let's redeploy it. All right, this chopper goes here. So here's a crashed chopper that I can analyze it for intel. Might as well do that, because I have nothing else going on. And because I have 2 Arrakis agents, the duration of these missions are halved. It was 4 minutes, now it's only 2.
Yes, boss.
All right, let's go get some more territory. All right, so we have a processing plant, which is adding to my Solari, and a wind trap, and then I think over here I might... So there is the military buildings, a recruitment office, and an airfield. So an airfield would add a circle around it so I could shuttle, but I'm so close to my home siege that that's probably not necessary. And there's also upkeep. So like the upkeep of the airfield is 2 manpower, which would then reduce the amount of troops that I could potentially recruit. Missile batteries also require manpower, and missile batteries have a circle about half the diameter of this airfield, and it will automatically shoot. They're really powerful, especially when they're stacked. And then there's a military base, which gives all allied military units in the region that you build the military base and its neighbors 20% power. In this case, I think, because of the... Yeah, I think I'm going to go with yet another plascrete factory or fuel cell. I'm probably going to go with fuel cell, because my fuel cells... I don't even have enough fuel cells to build my next refinery when I find, if and when I find a spice field, so that's what I'll go with. And then, because I'm getting energy markets, that extra fuel that I'm producing, even if I don't find a spice field, I'll be able to sell that fuel for Solari. So that's a good way to fuel my economy. Oh, and here is Fremen's chopper. So Fremen are likely in this region here, because their chopper came from that direction. So Atreides and Harkonnen are somewhere down here, and Fremen are probably in this quadrant. It's good to know. Okay, so now we're attacking this town down here, clearing it out, and annexing when I can. Also wouldn't be terrible at this point to let's roll out a sniper. So a sniper gains up to 50% power depending on the target's missing supplies. So attacking people that have low supplies does extra damage. And as you can imagine, with combined with the Wrecker, can be pretty powerful, because the Wrecker lower supplies and the sniper does bonus damage to low supplied units. And they also can be stealth, which is kind of nice. So we'll get a sniper out. Why is the Acid Lake gray? The Acid Lake is gray because I just don't have any current intel on it. The same way that this region is gray because I'm just not there. So I don't know if troops are there. I have no information about that area. You only really have intel in the places that you have people deployed. So it's just fog of war. Whereas Holtar, I'm adjacent to it, so I've revealed it. But these are 2 hops away, so it stays unrevealed.
Yes?
I like how you tagged @Rad. Oh, and I am being warned about a sandworm. So these 2 troops are on soft sand right now, which means that potentially a sandworm is going to eat them. So what I need to do is I need to march them onto the rock, even though it's giving the enemy militia free shots, because otherwise I'm going to get swallowed up and die.
Chemical expert. Okay, let's go.
Sometimes the game's not all that fair and will swallow you and kill you within seconds of the warning, giving you basically no time to react. You can even lose entire army stacks that way. I don't know about the mechanics of, like, sticking a lot of units in one tight spot. Because hypothetically it's based upon, you know, foot vibrations and all that, but I don't think that there's a game mechanic that says, like, if you have way too many units in one area, it attracts more sandworms. I think it's just a random chance. Even for the Fremen. Because in lore, I believe that the Fremen know how to, like, walk on the sand, but even in the game, sandworms try to eat them too.
This stuff is expensive, you know.
Alright, so here we go. We have a strong-willed extra manpower region. And I'm probably most interested in these specialty regions. So the Observatory Mountain and the Acid Lakes, because it will give me hegemony, and the hegemony will kick me up to be able to increase my siege, which would be really, really powerful. So I should keep an eye on that. So here we go. Take control.
Yeah? What? You
And then
call
you
me?
survey this area next. What's my other chopper doing? Doing stuff over here. So here's the council vote. I have 110 influence and 0 votes. So at 110 influence, I can use that influence to put forth me as the person to receive the authority production bonus. I also have a bounty on this. So other factions will gain 5 Solari per vote on the smugglers on this resolution. So I'll pay for them to do it. So I'm not going to use all my influence here. I'm going to use, let's say, 80 out of my 110. And hopefully I'll gain the 30% authority. And this bonus only lasts until the next council meeting. So they're temporary. Well, it can be a little bit longer than that. But yeah, they're temporary bonuses that you eventually lose. The charters, however, are permanent. So we have Speaker of the Council, which allows you to re-roll 1 of the 3 proposals. The Judge of the Council, which allows you to recruit specialty guards. You have the Water Sellers Union, which increases the amount of Solari by the percent of the available water. Basically, sell water for money. And Eye of the Council, which is a spying one. I'd like to become Eye of the Council. And then you have the special Dune governorship. It's hard to fulfill those requirements. You need to control a majority of the regions and have a bunch of allies on the map and have really, really, really high rating. But if you become the governor, you win after 60 days unless someone de-seats you. Is my harvester safe? Yep, my harvester is safe and already harvesting. I immediately redeployed them. As soon as you recall your unit, you can immediately redeploy and you're fine. You've averted the danger. Alright, construction complete with the fuel cell factory, so now my fuel cells are up to 8. And my sniper's almost 90% done.
Ready to strike.
Alright, there's the sniper. And as you can see, it is stealth.
The path is
So it's a good way to sort of sneak up on units or to be in a position that the enemy isn't aware of, to defend areas. And I now control this new village. So this village will give me a scavenger network, so if I kill anyone within the region, I gain extra Solari. And the first building I'm going to build here is probably a wind trap for water. I'd also like to start to scout below it. Figure out if there's any regions down there that are going to be interesting for me to annex.
More sand.
So I'm going to send my wrecker, who's full health and supplies. Also, you can see that my supplies is up to 130. That is a result of survival training. Increases the army's supply max by 30%. So I'm gaining extra supplies as a result, which means I can march a little bit further, but still not safe to cross like great deserts. Point of interest investigated. So this crashed chopper, I can analyze it for intel. So it gave me 90 intel. And with that 90 intel, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a probe setup mission. So complicated, difficult missions, like, let's say, doing atomics or doing infiltration cells, might have other events triggered. So it will say, like, oh, you know, your agent is compromised, you have to pay extra for this mission to go through. Easy missions, like probe setups, that will never happen. You can set up a probe for scouting, and it will never have complications, as far as I know. And then once this mission is done, I can then pick any region of the world and just reveal it like that, which is a pretty powerful tool to be able to use.
Listening. The path is clear.
Hey, Sujuka, thanks for the resub. And RW Moose, thanks for the follow. And Jarhead, thank you for the resub as well. Alright, so there's also Atreides here. So I'm guessing Atreides is down here, which means that Harkonnen is over here. That would be my guess.
Engine set.
So this is another one of those regions that are fully stoned up, so that there's no soft terrain. It's immune to sandworms. Not that it really matters, but it also allows me to build anywhere. So for instance, if I annex this area here, I could build a missile silo right here that would cover Esha. And then I could build, you know, a missile silo in Esha to cover the missile silo in the Observatory Mountain, and they would shoot at anything that would attack one another for some adjacency bonuses.
Yeah? What?
Oh, here's a deep desert.
As long as
Let's get the hell out of there. So this deep desert is not annexable. No one can ever own it. And if you cross it, you super die. 300% daily supply drain. So, here, I will walk through it briefly to try to get back to my city here. And you'll see my supplies super plummet. Yeah. You don't walk through deserts. Not in Dune. No, 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 no. Not unless you have a suicide wish. Very dangerous. So Deep Deserts, as you can see, is a rather large region. It's like 5 individual spots. And it can have some random science in it to uncover, but generally speaking, it's devoid of anything interesting, tactical or otherwise. Now, one thing that you can do with the Deep Deserts is that you know that no armies are going to cross on foot. So it acts as a barrier where troops aren't going to ingress to you. So, if I controlled this mountain here and guarded it well, and controlled the adjacent region over here, this city would basically be immune to attacks because no one's going to cross the deep desert to march to me. You wouldn't survive it. Troops just wouldn't survive it.
We'll stay hidden.
And here is the Great Volcano. So this is another specialty region, and it creates extra fuel cells. And then also, if I was Fremen, you would be able to build a ceremonial cave, which increases the amount of power for the military units in the region. But I'm not Fremen, so I don't benefit that way. Oh, here is some more rebels. So my guess is that this here is a deep desert, because these rebels always show up basically dead. So there must be a deep desert here as well, because the amount that these units are dead, it wouldn't happen without a deep desert being present.
What do you want?
So I'm going to start marching my 3 military units up to help defend. It's also a pretty good reason to maybe install militia here in Harasek to be able to thwart future rebels. But because these rebels are so weak and because militia don't train instantly, there's no point in doing it right now. Mission succeeded. Probe setup. So I am going to probe... I'm going to probe here. And this is the Dust Desolation. So this is even worse than the Deep Desert, where it actually hurts you and drains your supplies. So what's happening here is there is some sort of neutral siege over here that is sending raiders through the Desolation, which is honestly stupid and suicidal, as you can see reflected by their health, in to attack me. So the Desolation is a super good terrain blocker, which means that if I own Holtar here and this region here, no one's ever going to attack Holtar, because going through this is just total suicide. As you can see, they are like no health at all, basically. Alright, let's run another probe. And it's also, not only do you reveal the region, but you also reveal any of the resources and scouting elements in that region too. So probes are a really useful tool early on to figure out the lay of the land.
We're listening.
Now, if I wanted to, I'm just going to demonstrate this. This is not necessary, but I will demonstrate it anyway. I'm going to show you how shuttles work. So this militia, once they enter the white circle here, and you can turn on the white circle with the airfields filter, I could tell them to shuttle up to Harasek, which is about to get attacked.
Yeah? What?
And I'll do that with the sniper unit as well. Sniper unit's going to be more effective. Actually, one of their units died on their way over. But sniper units are going to be more effective because these guys basically don't have any supplies. And I'll leave the Wrecker. The Wrecker will go explore this section of the deep desert, just to reveal it.
Engine's hot.
Okay, we now have the wind trap, so let's go ahead and build Plascrete. And this is the speed of the shuttle. There is a research down here, Air Command, which increases the airfield range, which allows you to grow that circle which you can airfield. But shuttles aren't instant. They're pretty slow, as you can see, but they're certainly faster than going on foot. Ooh, I found another spice field. So if this is a spice field up here in Dalrek, what I could do is I could just jump over Bira and whatever this region is to get Dalrek, to be able to add spice. Or annex everything in between. I'll probably end up jumping because spice is pretty important and it's a huge driver of your economy. But we will see.
Yes. Listening.
And they're dead. And I also made a little bit of Solari from their death because I have the scavenger network now. Ooh, there we go. A crash shuttle up there that my probe revealed for additional random military development. So that's going to unlock guerrilla tactics, support structures, or ground command. I'm not sure which. It's random.
Yes, sniper. The path is clear.
Oh, a sandstorm. So sandstorms here will damage harvesters and also super kill units. So you have to avoid sandstorms as best as you can. So as you can see, the health and supplies of this wrecker here is getting wrecked. So I'm going to run from the sandstorm. The sandstorms usually last about half a day, which is just a few in-game minutes, but avoided at all costs. I also just got another probe, so let's probe here. So this is the center of the map. This will be the water well region that I was talking about. The Polar Sink, which is a specialty region that allows a water extractor. So the way you can think of this globe is you're looking at the globe from like the North Pole is the center, and then the globe pans out to like, you know, around the edge of the map. It's weird to have like the polar sink in the center, but the way I figure is you're just looking at the North Pole in the center or something. It's a little odd, but it's just the way the game is. And that is a region you can't tell, but it's a stony region immune to sandworms that you can build everywhere. And this is going to be the village controlling it. So I could, if I controlled the observatory mountain, I could build missile silos here and missile silos here to cover the village very, very well to make it very difficult for enemies to attack and control.
Listening.
All right, next region. What do I want? I probably am going to go with the observatory mountain here, my guess would be, because the observatory mountain is the stepping stone to get to the polar sink or to go to Dalrek for a spice field. So I'm going to ask you in the poll here which direction I should go. Thank you for tuning in to Dune Spice Wars. If you have any feedback or questions for me, let me know in the comments below. If you would like to catch live streams of mine, Rhadamant.com has my stream schedule and countdown timers to upcoming streams. If you'd like to join my gaming community, Rhadamant.com or the description of this video have a link to Discord. Thank you so very much for watching. A special thank you to my Patreon patrons, Twitch subscribers, and viewers like you that support the channel. I'll catch you next episode or an upcoming stream. Farewell, my fellow Dune smugglers.